Hey, comic book fans, welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. And fans, you're with me, Mike Spider Slayer, getting ready to do another countdown video. That's right, fans. Today we have a total of 15 comic books to talk about. That's right, everybody. No digital books, all physical copies this week. Solid week for reading. Most of the books were pretty good. I must say so myself. But there's always those couple books that just suck. And that is my honest truth about these couple books that will be coming up. So with that being said, let's get started with this week's countdown, starting with number 15. Yeah, that's right. Origin 2, issue number 2. Um, Pretty cool cover, not as good as that first cover, so that got a downgrade in itself because I love that first cover. But you know, even though this is no like transparent page or anything like that, it is still a solid cover with Sabretooth on there. Obviously, you can tell by that. However, though, I did not expect this story to go in this direction after these, this whole polar bear incident was pretty interesting in itself to see Logan in the wild like that. But then it takes this weird turn um, with Sabretooth and this guy right here, which I forgot his name, which was an Exus and Nexus or whatever his name was, and it was just interesting because they go and they capture Wolverine, and they decide to get him out with some gas, and because he's an animal and whatnot, and this girl. What's her name is, I think it was Clara. I don't even remember the characters' names because I read it already last week, and they wind up capturing Wolverine, and they wind up putting him in this cage, and they're going to put him in a circus. And the next, and you get to see that here, and then the next issue, you get to see this book 3. And I don't know. It didn't do anything for me. I was kind of just bored. I was kind of like, okay, what's really the point of this book? Um, the artwork at times was really good. I could get something out of that. This was interesting here. And the interactions with Sabretooth and the woman in here were pretty interesting. Same with Logan. But there's nothing here. There's nothing here that really wants me to say, oh my God, I got to get in the third issue. Like I got the second issue because the first one was interesting and I wanted to see where it was going to go from here. And I didn't know where it was going to go. And here it goes to Wolverine getting captured and being thrown into a circus as a freak show. So I don't know. I didn't like it. I gave it a 2 out of 5. So next, with that being said, we're going to go on and we're going to move on to number 14. And number 14 was Green Lantern and the New Guardians, issue number 27. This issue is just as bad as Wolverine, or Origins, or whatever you want to call it. The only reason why this got a little bit higher of a grade, and I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 5, was because this had somewhat of a backstory going up to it, because you got this creature that guarded the anomaly back in the beginning of right before Lights Out happened, and his name is Extor. Extor, I think, is his name, and he was the guardian of this particular the anomaly. Like I said before, Relic came out and broke out, and he comes back to his people. And then what happens in this issue that his people realize there's a traitor amongst everybody, and in the issue as well, we find out that the traitor is not really him. It's some like cloned like body or in the next species of this guy that's supposed to guard the galaxy or whatnot. And this guy looks like him. It's him right here. So it's like this dude's mind is in here or whatever. It's like way out there too. It's just a weird space galaxy. Who cares? Type of story. This is a one shot. This has nothing to do with the universe whatsoever. Even the artwork in this issue doesn't fit a Green Lantern book. When I look at a Green Lantern book, I feel like the book needs to be full of colors and brightness because that's what the lanterns are. And in this book, you just don't see that. Everything's just kind of gloomy and a little bit dark and heavy on inks, and I just don't like that. The only thing here that draws my attention to this series is the relationship between Carol Ferris and Kyle Rayner. Otherwise, besides that, I could really give a crap about this. And I'm really, really on the fence about actually seeing if I'm going to drop this series or not. And I'm giving it a 2.5 out of 5. And we're going to see how the next story goes. And if it's not any better, it might be on the list of being dropped because I could care less about Kyle and Carol just like going from place to place to place with the Guardians because the Guardians need to know everything that's going on to be the true protectors of Oa or now Mogo. So I don't know. We'll see. So next is number 13, and that is Cataclysm Ultimate Comics X-Men issue number 3. This wraps up the Cataclysm event for the X-Men part, and this book wasn't even necessary either. This was kind of just an extension to the last issue where Rogue gets all powered up. She absorbs Captain Marvel's powers and goes out and destroys the Galactic Swarm. And at the end of the issue, we get to see that Pixie was on her way out. She was dying. You saw that in the last issue. And the only way out of there is to use her powers. And once Rogue touched her at the end, before she passed away, she was able to transport all our X-Men out. And get them to safety, but they wind up in the middle of Galactus himself, and then it's to be continued in Cataclysm issue number 4. The artwork in this book was better than the previous issues. I thought it was interesting. Had decent colors in here to represent the characters, which was pretty neat. You get to see some passion and some emotions between Pixie and Rogue. You get to see some relationship between Captain Marvel and Rogue, which was interesting. And you get to see some stuff there between Captain Marvel and Rogue also about how to handle the powers. But the issue itself was literally a 5 to 6 minute read at max, and that's at slowly reading it. If you sped read it, you could probably read it in 3 minutes. So that's why I felt it really wasn't all that necessary. So it gets like a 3 out of 5 for me. So with that being said, we're moving on, and we're moving on to number 12. And number 12 is the all-new X Factor issue number 2. Interesting issue. Had a little bit more action, not as much dialogue in here. The artwork is okay. I feel that if this book had more or better solid artwork, I thought it could reach out to the readers a little bit more. I still feel like there's something missing here. I think it's too heavy on ink. In my opinion, the colors might be a little bit too bold for the series. But again, that's my opinion. Everyone has their different art style in the actual issue. But you get to see Gambit, Polaris, and Quicksilver go out on this mission, and they got to recover some mutants. But in the process, there's this Dr. Hoffman that's involved that kind of harnesses these mutants' powers, and he becomes this big, like, mutant creature. A little bit on the generic side, something that I've seen many, many times, or any comic reader has seen at times. And you get to see our heroes prevail against Dr. Hoffman. And then at the end of the issue, you're going to see this series just progress and the team grow larger. And it was fun. It wasn't bad. And here's your next cover. So it wasn't a bad issue. I thought it was good. It was better than the first one, I thought. And it's going to get me, it has enough in here now to keep me going, to see where it's going to go, how the story develops. So I'm going to give this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. So now moving on, we're going to go on to number 11. And number 11 is an all-new Marvel Now issue number 1, and that is All New Invaders. Has our characters in here featured front and center. Namor, Captain America, It's got Bucky, Winter Soldier, and it's got the original. Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. Johnny Storm, or the original Human Torch. I'm sorry, I just couldn't think of the name offhand. Uh, so this was pretty interesting. Really great art in the introduction here. I do love this the introduction and the prologue to it. James Robinson was the writer to this, and Steve Pugh does the artworks in it. And it's a very well detailed book. It draws a pretty interesting story with our original Human Torch, as we can see here. As I think, what was she? Was she a Kree? I don't remember what she was exactly, but she was looking for this third and final piece of whatnot to take over the galaxy or whatever it was that they need. And you get to see the Human Torch's, I guess, mind going back to World War II on the people that he worked with originally. Yeah, this was the Kree. That's what I'm trying to remember. And you see this guy again, who's the Human Torch. His name is Jim, and you see him in a small town and whatnot. So I'm trying to jog my memory on this issue. It was been a little while since I read it. But he had to go against this Kree lady. He had to get this. He had to stop her from destroying the town, killing innocent lives because she's trying to get in possession of this third and final piece. But there was lots of action here. Again, I really like the artwork, like the flashback to the World War II days when he goes back to the original invaders' time. And by the time you got to the end of the issue, you got to see everybody back together. You get to see Captain America, Winter Soldier back together here, and Namor looks like he's captured. So, in short, I did like this book. This was interesting. I'm going to give this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars as well. Where it goes, really, I'm not sure. But I'm interested to see how all these characters interact with each other. So that was number 11. We're going to move on to number 10. And number 10 this week was Batman issue number 27. This was a better issue for Batman Zero Year for me because it had good interactions between Commissioner Gordon and Bruce Wayne. And the great thing about this issue that I thought that this issue explained the best was the relationship between Commissioner Gordon and Bruce Wayne, or Batman. And he gives him a whole explanation of what happened with that jacket and how he thought Gotham was. Commissioner Gordon turned a blind eye to what Gotham was. He thought this was better than where he was. He thought that things were greater and there was hope. And when he went in and he saw this illegal dogfighting ring between all his fellow police officers and whatnot, he saw that the city is corrupt and it's not a great city to be in. And Commissioner Gordon went all out to help Bruce Wayne with his parents and all that other stuff. So there was a lot of dialogue here with this particular issue. So if you weren't in a mood for reading, this is not the issue for you. You had to be in a specific state of mind to read this. And finally, at the end of the issue, you finally get the return of the Riddler here that hopefully will amp up the action in this series, because in Zero Year there's been lots of dialogue, very little action in here. But again, there was moments in here between Alfred and Bruce and Commissioner Gordon and Bruce Wayne as well. So this week, this has got a 3.5 out of 5 stars for me. So now moving on, we move on to number 9. And number 9 was Empire of the Dead, issue number 1. This is George Romero's version of, he's the king of zombies. But this is his book, his story. And, if you're expecting to be thrusted into the beginning of a zombie apocalypse, of how it all started and how it all happened, no, that's not what happens in this issue whatsoever. You're basically at the end of the zombie apocalypse, or the humans have regained control and have quarantined the zombies, and now they're trying to do studies on these zombies on how they tick, how they work, and whatnot. And you have a doctor from University doing studies on these zombies, and she interacts with this guy who his name is Paul, and he shows them around how everything is, how society is today, how the upper class works, how the lower class works, and you get to learn the ins and outs of how everything is. And we find out that these zombies possibly have memories of their previous lives. They have like a muscle memory. If they were good at chess, they're going to be playing chess. If they were a cop, they're going to be sworn to protect people. That's embedded into their brain. You get to see pretty good art in here, which does fit the book because it's dark, it's gloomy, it's apocalyptic type of world, but it's a little bit sketchy and lacks on detail when it comes to like zombie faces and things like that. But I think you can get accustomed to the series as you read it. By the time you get to the end of the issue, you find out that there's a vampire involved in all this too. So how are we going to handle, two undead types of species in one book? Not sure yet, but I'm definitely interested to see what happens, and I'm going to be coming back for issue number 2. And I gave this one a 4 out of 5 because it's something a little bit different from our regular, zombie genre that we're so used to, like The Walking Dead. So really interesting stuff here. So with that, we're moving on, and we're going to move on to, I think it's number 8. Let me just make sure. 2, 3. Yep, we're moving on to number 8, and number 8 is Hawkeye, issue number 16. This continues our story with Kate Bishop in Los Angeles and being a private investigator and trying to get as much money as she can. This issue was a little weird because it had to do with this past singing musician who was like in the 60s boy band, and his brother just took everything from him, leaked all his future work out. We always thought that he was like a one-hit wonder. Thought that he was stuck in the 60s, but he had work that he did. He did work in the 80s. He did work in the 90s, but his brother sucked him dry. And Kate Bishop was looking to find out what was going on with this guy, and this was the original musician right here. And trying to think of the kid's name at the time. Something, the Bryan brothers or something like that. And and it all started with Kate Bishop with the guy in the middle of the road, and she was trying to figure out what was going on. And yeah, they're called the Bryson brothers. And it was an interesting issue. Kate Bishop's character, I love her character in this series. I think she's great, and I think it gets you, with her being on her own in these particular stories, it gets you to really invest into the character, and it really you want to read more about her because she's so positive and outgoing, and she wants to go out there and conclude everything. And she's young, and that's the way her personality is. So I really enjoyed it. She winds up in the private investigator's office again, like she did in the last issue, and the police guy winds up kicking her out, and she'll do anything possible to solve a case, and you got to love that tenacity from her. I really enjoyed it. So this was a fun book once again, and I'm going to give this issue a 4 out of 5. And what happens next in the series? Not really sure. You had some mysterious woman looking over her shoulder. When does Hawkeye, Clint Barton, make his return back to the series? I'm not sure, so that's the one thing I'm missing here. But I know if you read in the back of the editorial pages here, in the letter pages, they had to skip an issue. Something happened with the release of this particular issue, but hopefully Clint comes back soon too, because I want to keep up on him. But I love her. I love Kate Bishop. I think she's great. She could be my hero any day. I love her. So, moving on, we go on to number 7, and that's another female heroine. heroine, and that is Black Widow issue number 2. Uh, Great cover here. Really like that espionage feel that this book has to offer. The artwork is very interesting, something you don't see all the time. It fits the book with Natasha. She winds up going out on this mission in Shanghai, and it starts off, I think it was about 14 hours. It starts off at present, and then it goes to 14 hours earlier, and it shows her going on to this mission that she has to accept. And she has her person that she works with, which is her, I think it's her lawyer or whatnot. And it's pretty cool because we get to see people investigate her lawyer, and they want her dead. And her lawyer is kind of like this secret killer in a way. It was pretty cool, you know. But anyway, she has to accept this mission. It's an espionage type of thing, like usual. It's called the Iron Scorpion or Black Scorpion or something like that. And she had to fight against this guy, and she was looking out for her person's son or whatnot. So I mean, it was a fun issue. It had lots of action, not much dialogue in it. I think they were called the Iron Scorpion. I think it was that she was going against, and she winds up being victorious. There wasn't like so much to the issue. My thing that I got out of it was that this guy right here, which is her lawyer or her partner, he winds up putting a bug on these people that are after Black Widow, and he winds up killing them all with a gun, and you get to see that in the end. It's just a fun read. I think this is going to be a good book, and it changes the artwork where something major happened when it comes to death, and his colors are all blood and stuff. So. And then she comes across that cat again if you read the last issue, but I don't want to spoil the whole thing. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I liked it just as much as the last issue. I want to see more of a developing story so we can dig deeper into the character. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see continuous one-shots, but I do like this, and I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. And I'll be back for issue number 3. So with that being said, we're going to move on to getting closer to number 1. We're going to go on to number 6, and number 6 was Chew issue number 39. And here you get to see Amelia, which is Agent Chew's girlfriend, looking at this weird plant-like creature. Or species or food or whatever you want to call it. What this fruit is it's like it was like this fruit that they bought or some plant species that they found in this island, and Amelia took a seed and she wound up growing it in her backyard or whatnot, or in her windowsill. So this took place, it's taking place kind of like in between issues, in between 38 and 39. That's where this issue takes place. And we get to see Amelia, which again is Agent Chew's girlfriend, and Olive, which is Chew's daughter. And we get to see them go out on the mission. They need to find a way to get Chew, which is Tony Chew. So bear with me here because I try to explain these issues and not everyone knows what I'm talking about. Get him out of his depressed state because his sister is dead, and the only way he can relive his sister's memories is eating her toe that she severed off before she died. Sounds really weird, but if you read Chew, you understand what I'm talking about. And they have to go out in this mission, and they go to this FDA, and they got to get these crazy like chickens, and they got to make this special recipe. And what Chew always offers great action. Definitely a book that's way out there and different. The artwork is fun. There's always a bunch of Easter eggs on here. John Layman is the writer, and always when Agent Chew eats something, he always finds out where a specific product has come from. It is a fun read, guys. I recommend it, reading it each and every month. It's a great story. By the time you get to the end of this particular issue, he winds up getting his memories, getting his visuals back with his sister. And it had to do with that particular recipe in order to get her memory or to get her visual back. You got to read it to understand it. When reading Chew, I suggest getting the trades at this point, because after each and every story arc, they release a trade immediately. So you can get every trade for maybe $10 each trade, and they're on issue number 39, and it consists of maybe 4 or 5 issues each. So great stuff. John Layman's a genius at this book. It's going to go to about issue 64. Highly recommend it. Giving this one a 4 out of 5. So next we're going to go on, and we're going to go on to our top 5 comics of the week. And number 5 goes to Justice League issue number 27. Now, these top 5 books are top 5 for obviously a reason, because of great interactions between either their partners or father, or whatever the case may be. There was great dialogue, great interaction between characters, and that's why these books got number 5. And Justice League was one of them, because this was a Forever Evil tie-in. So this is Justice League issue 27, because this one had to do with Cyborg, but not just Cyborg. It had to do with the return of Cyborg, and it's kind of like a retold origin story, because he's getting rebooted to 2.0, which was awesome. And the beginning of this issue comes off to these Doom Patrol kids, in the beginning of the issue, and you see Johnny Quick and Atomica go after him, which I thought was pretty fun. And right away, you see Atomica go in one of the kid's ears, and he winds up getting his brain dead. She goes in his ear and winds up killing him, and he's dead on the floor. And Johnny Quick just kills somebody else really quickly. So that was interesting and fun. And I think Ivan Reis is the artist on this book too, so his artwork was consistent all the way through. But the main portion of this story had to do with Cyborg, and you had to see him and his dad interact with each other on should he become Cyborg again. Should Victor become Cyborg again? And there was a lot of argument, a lot of debate, and you felt the passion and you felt the remorse on Victor's dad, on what he did to him before. He never paid attention to him and things like that. It was a great story. But after some convincing, you get to see Cyborg, who convinces his dad that he wants to go in that red room, the secret room, the room that nobody knows about except you two guys. And I want to go out there and pick my arsenal. I want to go shopping. And I thought that was really awesome. And you get to see this cool room, and you get to see all these awesome devices and things that he's going to choose from. And you get to see the Cyborg being rebuilt, which I thought was fun. And then you get this secret, mysterious green button that's on him. What is that all about? And you get to see a real rebuilt, streamlined Cyborg. So what'd you guys think of this Cyborg? Was he pretty cool? I mean, I thought it was neat. He's more human-like, not as bulky, probably a little bit quicker. And now he's going to go after our crime syndicate. Now this got number 5. Just because we got the Metal Men that's involved at the end of this issue, and I was like, how are the Metal Men going to fare in here? So, but besides that, this issue was pretty good. I mean, this was a solid issue. I really enjoyed it. I love the interactions between father and son here. There's nothing more strong than the bond between a father and a son. And as me missing my father, that he's not in my life, you got to appreciate that. And that's why this one hit for me. So I'm giving this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Really good issue, guys. So next, we move on to number 4 on our list. And number 4 is the Superior Spider-Man Team Up, issue number 9. This is the prelude to the Goblin Nation, or the Goblin War, whatever you want to call it, but it's the beginning of the end for Superior Spider-Man, so we all get Peter Parker back, and that's what I'm looking forward to the most. But this issue was definitely something that had you go, holy crap, really? This happened in here? Never saw it coming. And, when things like this are not revealed in the comic, it kind of is just like, oh, wow, that was really neat. And even though this wasn't really like a monumental ending, you never expected it to happen this way. But first of all, you get to see, Superior Spider-Man team up with the Punisher and Daredevil, and you get to see these cool little gadgets that Superior always comes up with to make himself more superior, whether it's the goggles, whether it's his feet, whether it's bulletproof webbing. It's all those things that he's constantly trying to make himself better, or a better Spider-Man, just like the spider bots, things like that. um, Interactions between this book, between Daredevil and Punisher, on why they wanted to get uh, Spider-Man was great. There was like rubber bullets used because they didn't want to kill him and things like that. But we see that Punisher and Daredevil are together after Superior to recover this this Goblin glider that the Punisher had, and supposedly Spider-Man took it. So when they go into Spider Island and they go to retrieve the armory, they go into the armory and they go to retrieve the weapon, we find out that the armory is empty and that there's a traitor amongst the Spider Goon army. And you get to see one has pumpkin bombs all over them, and you're just like, oh, dude, what's going on? There's a traitor. But that wasn't the last of it. By the last of it, you see this guy, the guy who's carrying the bombs, talking to the Green Goblin. And the next thing you find out is that not just one guy, but every person that has to do with Spider-Man's army is part of the Goblin crew. And you never saw that coming. I was like, holy crap. And they got arms and they got all kinds of gliders and all that equipment that was stored in the armory. And how does Spider-Man and his friends deal with the situation? I don't know. But this week we have Superior Spider-Man coming out that has to do with this next part of the Goblin Nation. So I can't wait. But this was a fun read too. This was like a 4.5 out of 5 stars for me. This was a fun read. Great stuff here, guys. So with that being said, now we're going to move on to our top three. Number 3 comic of the week, and it goes to Harley Quinn issue number 2. Great cover here. It's got all the cutesy litzy little animals. Ooh, it's got lizards and puppy dogs and cats and squirrels and horses and mice and turtles and you get the picture. And they're all like scratching Harley Quinn up, and they're bleeding all over the place and stuff like that. So little awesome cover here. And the first page opens up just as good, because you're just like, what's going on here? So in that first page, you open up and boom, you got Harley straddling the Joker. And you're like, what is going on there? You're just like, wow, that's awesome, And it's just their typical dialogue that comes out of her. And she's like, miss me, sugar? I sure missed you, Puddin' Pop, and it's just like, oh, that's pretty awesome. But you find out she's in this wax museum, which is funny, and you find out that she's the landlord, and she talks to the owner, and she has to pay, rent and things like that. And it was cool seeing her go through this wax museum and all the details that were in it. But the main story had to do with Harley going through this pet adoption center, and she sees all these people protesting everything that's going on out there. And she's good-hearted in that way, and she wants to go out and rescue all the pets. Well, let's just say that her application is denied. So it is denied, and she has to figure out a way. What am I going to do to rescue all these pets? So she calls out her best buddy, her pal, her bedmate, Poison Ivy. And cool in the background here, reminded me of Little Shops of Horror, which I thought was really neat. And you got her little beaver that's still talking, which is a stuffed burnt beaver that she uses to communicate on a regular basis. And you get to see Poison Ivy make her appearance in the issue, and they go and they try to rescue all these animals from the shelter, and she wants them all. She wants to take care of them all. Artwork is very solid in the issue. Really like it. At times, it's really cartoony, really fun. And then when Harley gets serious, so does the art too. She gets a little bit more sketched out. Facial expressions really get more serious in there, because in the issue, the backstory in this particular issue, the story that seems to be ongoing, is she has these bounty hunters that are out for her, or there's a reward on her head to take her in, and we don't know exactly why yet. But once that's taken care of, the issue continues, and we get to see that Harley gets all the animals at her house or at her apartment building and whatnot, and we get to see Poison Ivy and Harley. They actually sleep together or sleep in bed together, and they share a little peck on the cheek, which was nice, I guess. And you get to see Poison Ivy do this act of kindness for her before she left, and she created this whole greenhouse for all the animals so they can poop and do whatever they needed to do. So it was a fun issue. And then at the end of the issue, you get to see this mysterious character that just is like maybe behind everything that is going on. I really liked it. I love the character here with Harley, and I loved their interactions between her and Poison Ivy. I thought they were just classic. I thought it was epic. I just love them, sharing that kiss, or she kissed her and showed passion for her and went out of her way for her. I really liked it, and it's fun. It's comical book. Don't look too much into it. Have fun with it. That's what this type of book is. And so I really enjoyed it. I'm giving it a 4.5. 4.5 out of 5 stars too. I know I did an in-depth review on it and I rated it already, but I really enjoyed the book. Regardless, it's fun. So, number 2 on this week's countdown goes to, boom, All New X-Men, issue 22.1. Now, this got number 2 because of one reason alone, and it was kind of towards the middle portion, going towards the end portion of this book. But when you go to the beginning, the starting off of the trial of Jean Grey, Brian Michael Bendis did some phenomenal work here between the dialogue between Angel, Cyclops, and Jean Grey, and the awkwardness that went along between all 3 of these characters, and an uneasy feeling that you felt while reading this book. I thought the facial expressions were great. I thought their body language was really good in the issue, and I thought it just had great humor in here. And of course, it had one of my old-time favorite songs, and I said it in my in-depth review when Iceman was singing, and he goes, "The speech is my recital. I think it's very vital to rock a rhyme. That's right, on time, it's tricky. Here we go. It's street to rock around. That's right, on time, it's tricky." That's right. I love that song, and it was classic, and I thought it was so funny, and I really enjoyed it. And by the time you get to the middle of the book, though, you get the Shi'ar Empire that's coming in here, and they wind up going to capture Jean Grey. And this issue is complete setup, no real heavy plot of what's happening to Jean Grey, except that she got captured. And even though it was lots of action and a lot of stuff going on, I felt that it was a lot of kind of fillerish part in here. It's just like, oh, let's get lots of action and let's spend 4 pages on capturing Jean Grey, and then at the end of the issue we're going to throw in Guardians of the Galaxy, just showing up a tad late on getting Jean Grey. So it was fun, though. I really enjoyed it. I mean, the reason why my number 1 issue was number 1 is because it was great all the way through, and it was a page turner. I didn't stop. This one was too, but it didn't impact me as much all the way through the issue as this number 1 issue is. However, the artwork is phenomenal here. Love the 2-page spread. Can't wait for the next issue of Guardians of the Galaxy and the trial of Jean Grey. So this got 4.5 out of 5 stars. So this week's number 1 pick is The Walking Dead, issue number 120, All Out War, chapter 6 of 12. We're at the halfway point of All Out War. And let me just say to you that what's going on between Negan and Rick is just absolutely epic. The cover says it all right here. It's like a boxing match, and they're about to go at this big fight against each other. And it's like Michonne is the referee. She's right in between them. And this issue was just from opening page to closing page, you're just like, holy cow, this is awesome. And in a war like this, of what's happening between Negan and Rick, you would never expect there to be so much humor in one book as is this issue right here. And if you guys, if fans know what I'm talking about, that have read this issue already, you understand what I'm talking about. But in this issue, you got to see, Holly. It all starts with Holly. She winds up biting the doctor, and the doctor gets infected, but she has to attend to all the casualties that are happening in all-out war. There's grenades being thrown left and right, and Rick's people are just getting blown and injured, and Heath is part of that crew. He gets his legs blown off, and it's just like, oh my God, what's happening? And the dialogue in here that Negan provides is what brings that comical aspect to this series. In the midst of all this danger and everything that's going on, he finds it humorous that he's throwing grenades into Rick's community, blowing up all these people, and says, I have a hard-on. He's like, I have a hard-on that's as hard as steel. He's like, I can call it Lucille too, and it's just crazy. You got great artwork here. You get to see a two-page spread of Rick and Carl, and you get to see, oh my God, I'm just drawing a blank. And you get to see other page here with Maggie, who makes her return. She makes her return, and she's claimed herself as a Hilltop leader now, which I thought was interesting. And this is just a book, you guys, that you have to read. If you read it in trade, you're going to really love it in trade. But if you can't wait like me, you're going to love it anyway, because it's got great action from beginning to end, and it's got great dialogue and character interaction from beginning to end. And you got to love the passion that Robert Kirkman puts into this book. This is his baby, and you can see that here. Fun read, #1 pick of the week. And that's it, guys. 42 minutes later, you have it. 15 books. You've seen the worst. You've seen the best. And guys, stay tuned for another countdown next week. And don't forget, this Saturday, Mike Spider Slayer is going to have a live show, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to celebrate my 1,000 sub milestone. So be there for that, and you can ask any question that you want, and I'll do my best to answer them. So guys, until the next comic book review, this is Mike Spider Slayer signing off, and I'll see you guys real soon. Thanks for watching, everyone. Take care. Bye.